a Mishal by Asaph. Hear my teachings, my people. Turn your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, telling to the generation to come the praises of Yahweh and his strength, and his wondrous deeds that he has done. He established a covenant in Jacob. He appointed Torah in Israel, which he commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know, even the children who should be born, who should arise and tell their children, that they might set their hope in God, and not forget the works of God, but keep his mitzvot, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that did not make their hearts loyal, whose spirit was not steadfast with God. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the days of battle. They did not keep the covenant of God, and refused to walk in his Torah. They forgot his doings, his wondrous deeds that he had shown them. He did marvelous things in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. He split the sea and caused them to pass through. He made the waters stand as a heap. In the daytime he also led them with a cloud, and all night with a light of fire. He split rocks in the wilderness. He gave them drink abundantly, as out of the depths. He brought streams also out of the rock. He caused waters to run down like rivers. Yet they still went on to sin against him, to rebel against Elyon in the desert. They tempted God in their heart by asking food according to their desire. Yes, they spoke against God. They said, "Can God prepare a table in the wilderness?" Behold, he struck the rock so that waters gushed out and streams overflowed. Can he give bread also? Will he provide meat for his people? Therefore Yahweh heard and was angry. A fire was kindled against Jacob. Anger also went up against Israel, because they did not believe in God and did not trust in his salvation. Yet he commanded the skies above and opened the doors of heaven. He rained down manna on them to eat and gave them food from the sky. Men ate the bread of angels. He sent them food to the full. He caused the east wind to blow in the heavens, but by his power he guided the south wind. He rained meat on them as the dust, winged birds as the sand of the seas. He let them fall in the middle of their camp, around their habitations. So they ate and were filled. For he gave them their own desire. They did not turn from their cravings. Their food was yet in their mouths when the anger of God went up against them, killed them of their fattest, and struck down the young men of Israel. For all this they still sinned, and did not believe in his wondrous works. Therefore he consumed their days in vanity, and their years in terror. When he killed them, then they inquired after him. They returned and sought God earnestly. They remembered that God was their rock, El Elyon their Redeemer. But they flattered him with their mouth, and lied to him with their tongue, for their heart was not right with him, neither were they faithful in his covenant. But he, being merciful, forgave iniquity. He did not destroy them. Yes, many times he turned his anger away, and did not stir up all his wrath. He remembered that they were but flesh, a wind that passes away and does not come again. How often they rebelled against him in the wilderness, and grieved him in the desert. They turned again and tempted God, and provoked the Holy One of Israel. They did not remember his hand, nor the day when he redeemed them from the adversary, how he set his signs in Egypt, his wonders in the field of Zoan. He turned their rivers into blood, and their streams, so that they could not drink. He sent among them swarms of flies, which devoured them, and frogs, which destroyed them. He gave also their increase to the caterpillar, and their labor to the locusts. He destroyed their vines with hail, their sycamore fig trees with frost. He gave over their livestock also to hail, and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He threw on them the fierceness of his anger, wrath, indignation, and trouble, and a band of messengers of evil. He made a path for his anger. He did not spare their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and struck all the firstborn of Egypt, the firstfruits of their strength in the tents of Ham. But he led out of his own people like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. He led them safely, so that they were not afraid. But the sea overwhelmed their enemies. He brought them to the border of his sanctuary, to this mountain, which his right hand had taken. He also drove out the nations before them, allotted them for an inheritance by the line, as made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Yet they tempted and rebelled against El Elyon, and did not keep his testimonies, but turned back and dealt treacherously like their fathers. They were twisted like a deceitful bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their engraved images. When God heard this, he was angry, and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he abandoned the tent of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among the men, and delivered his strength into captivity, his glory into the adversary's hands. He also gave his people over to the sword, and was angry with his inheritance. Fire devoured their young men, and their virgins had no wedding song. Their Kohanim fell by the sword, and their widows could not weep. Then Adonai awakened as one out of sleep, like a mighty man who shouts by reason of wine. He struck his adversaries backward. He put them to a perpetual reproach. Moreover, he rejected the tent of Joseph, and did not choose the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Judah, Mount Zion, which he loved. He built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth which he has established forever. He also chose David, his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds, from following the ewes like have their young. He brought him to be the shepherd of Jacob, his people, and Israel, his inheritance. So he was their shepherd according to the integrity of his heart, and guided them by the skillfulness of his hands. A psalm by Asaph. God, the nations have come into your inheritance. They have defiled your holy temple. They have laid Jerusalem in heaps. They have given the dead bodies of your servants to be food for the birds of the heavens, the flesh of your pious ones to the beasts of the earth. They have shed their blood like water around Jerusalem, and there was no one to bury them. We have become a reproach to our neighbors, a scoffing and derision to those who are around us. How long, Yahweh? Will you be angry forever? Will your jealousy burn like fire? Put out your wrath on the nations that do not know you, on the kingdoms that do not call on your name. For they have devoured Jacob and destroyed his homeland. Do not hold the iniquity of your forefathers against us. Let your tender mercies speedily meet us, and we are in desperate need. Help us, God of our salvation. The glory of your name deliver us, and forgive our sins, for your name's sake. Why should the nations say, where is their God? Let it be known among the nations before our eyes that vengeance for our servants' blood is being poured out. Let the sign of the prisoner come before you. According to the greatness of your power, preserve those who are sentenced to death. Pay back to our neighbors 7 times into their bosom their reproach with which they have reproached you, Adonai. So we, your people and sheep of your pasture, will give you thanks forever. We will praise you forever to all generations. For the chief musician, to the tune of the lilies of the covenant, a psalm by Asaph. Hear us, shepherd of Israel, you who lead Joseph like a flock, you who sit above the cherubim, shine out. Before Ephraim and Benjamin and Manasseh, stir up your might and come to save us. Turn against us, God. Cause your face to shine, and we will be saved. Adonai Elohim Sevaot, how long will you be angry against the prayer of your people? You have fed them with the bread of tears, and given them tears to drink in large measure. You make us a source of contention to our neighbors, and our enemies laugh among themselves. Turn us again, Eliam Tsevaot. Cause your face to shine, and we will be saved. You brought out a vine out of Egypt. You drove out nations and planted it. You cleared the ground for it. It took deep root and filled the land. The mountains were covered with its shadow, the mighty cedars with its boughs. It sent out its branches to the seas, its shoots to the rivers. Why have you broken down its walls, so that those who pass by the way pluck it? The boar out of the wood ravages it, and the wild animals of the field feed on it. Turn again, we beg you, Elohim Tsevaot. Look down from heaven and see, and visit this vine, the stalk which your right hand planted, the branch that you made strong for yourself. It is burned with fire, it is cut down. They perish at your rebuke. Let your hand be on the man of your right hand, and the Son of Man, whom you made strong for yourself. So we will not turn away from you. Revive us, and we will call on your name. Restore us, Adonai Elohim Tsevaot. Cause your face to shine, and we will be saved. For the chief musician on an instrument of Gath by Asaph. Sing aloud to God our strength. Make a joyful shout to the God of Jacob. Raise a song and bring here the tambourine, the pleasant lyre with the harp. Blow the shofar at Rosh Chodesh, at the full moon, on our feast day. For it is a statute for Israel, an ordinance of the God of Jacob. He appointed it in Joseph for a covenant, when he went out over the land of Egypt. I heard a language that I did not know. I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were freed from the basket. You called in trouble, and I delivered you. I answered you in the secret place of thunder. I tested you at the waters of Meribah, Selah. Hear, my people, I will testify to you, Israel, if you would listen to me. There should be no strange god in you, neither shall you worship any foreign god. I am Yahweh, your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt. Open your mouth wide, and I will fill it. But my people did not listen to my voice. Israel desired none of me, so I let them go after the stubbornness of their hearts, that they might walk in their own counsels. Oh, that my people would listen to me, that Israel would walk in my ways. I would soon subdue their enemies, and turn my hand against their adversaries. The haters of Yahweh would cringe before him, and their punishment would last forever. But he would have fed them with the finest of the wheat. I will satisfy you with honey out of the rock. A psalm by Asaph. God presides in the divine assembly. He judges among the gods. How long will you judge unjustly and show partiality to the wicked? Selah. Defend the weak, the poor, and the fatherless. Maintain the rights of the poor and the oppressed. Rescue the poor and needy. Deliver them out of the hand of the wicked. They do not know, neither do they understand. They walk back and forth in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are shaken. I said, you are angelic creatures. All of you are sons of Elion. Nevertheless, you shall die like men, and fall like one of the rulers. Arise, God, judge the earth, for you inherit all the nations. A psalm by Asaph. God, do not keep silent. Do not hold your peace, and do not be still, God. For behold, your enemies are stirred up. Those who hate you have lifted up their heads. They conspire with cunning against your people. They plot against your cherished ones. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, that the name of Israel may be remembered no more. For they have conspired with one mind, for they form an alliance against you, the tents of Edom and the Ishmaelites, Moab and the Hagrites, Gebal, Ammon, and Emilia, Philistia, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Assyria also is joined with them. They have helped the children of Lot, Selah. Do to them as you did to Midian, as to Sisera, as to Jabin at the river of Kishon, who perished at Endor and became as dung for the earth, and make their nobles like Oreb and Zeb, yes, all their princes like Zebah and Zalmunna, who said, let us take possession of the pasture of the lands of God, my God. Make them like tumbleweed, like chaff before the wind, as the fire that burns the forest, as the flame that sets the mountains on fire. So pursue them with your tempest, and terrify them with your storm. Fill their faces with confusion, that they may seek your name, Yahweh. Let them be disappointed and dismayed forever. Yes, let them be confounded and perish, that they may know that you alone, whose name is Yahweh, are El Elyon over all the earth. For the chief musician on an instrument of Gath, a psalm by the sons of Korah. How lovely are your dwellings, Adonai Tzvaot. My soul longs, yes, even faints, for the courts of Yahweh. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Yes, the sparrows has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young. Near your altars, Adonai Tzvaot, my King and my God. Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They are always praising you, Selah. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, who have set their hearts on a pilgrimage, passing through the valley of Becca, that they may make a place of springs. Yes, the autumn rain covers with the blessings. They go from the strength to strength. Every one of them appears before the God of Zion. Adonai, Elohim, Tzvaot, hear my prayer. Listen, God of Jacob, Selah. Behold, God our shield. Look at the face of your anointed. For a day in your courts is better than 1,000. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than to dwell in the tents of wickedness. For Adonai Elohim is a sun and a shield. Yahweh will give grace and glory. He withholds no good thing from those who walk blamelessly. Adonai Tzvaot, blessed is the man who trusts in you.